Hey gang, what's going on? Coming to you live from the 405 inside the Zach Niv Mobile. 62, count them, 62 beautiful degrees outside today. Plenty of sunshine. The sky is clear. The wind might be moving at about 2 miles an hour. It's the most beautiful sunny day that we have had since we got out of tornado season and went straight from tornado season to holy hell, it's hot. No, I'm not even gonna talk about that. Anyway, I digress. Y'all know I do that sometimes. So for those of you that are new viewers, deal with it. Anyhow, the games are all done. We're now on the NFL Sunday. It was an interesting day of college football yesterday, particularly in the SEC. Bama handles Tennessee. No surprise there. The big surprise for me was that they beat Tennessee as soundly as they did. Joey Aguilar effectively ineffective in the loss. So Texas now queues up their Tennessee now queues up their second SEC loss. And then speaking of SEC losses, and then there were two. You remember last week's Sunday car video? The three undefeateds in the conference were Bama, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. Well, Ole Miss losing to the Dogs now just leaves A&M and Bama. Real quick recap of who they've got left. Bama has South Carolina, OU, and Auburn. I don't see any conference losses there. I don't want to pencil them in because it's not over until the final game gets to triple zeros, but we kind of already know what we're dealing with. We saw South Carolina play yesterday. We saw Auburn play yesterday. Auburn's season essentially was over when the referee said that was indeed a fumble. We saw Hugh Freeze just throw his hands up, and essentially you knew that he had given up on the rest of the season. OU played a lot more convincingly yesterday. John Mateer still not the hand injury John Mateer, but they managed to handle business accordingly. But I don't see any losses here. Not the way Bama's playing there. Far and above, I had to swallow hard because it's hard for me to say it. They're far and above the premier team in the conference this year. I said it. A Georgia fan said this about the Crimson Tide. It's called being objective, boys and girls. Anyway, you got now Ole Miss is now in a 4-5-way tie with one loss teams, except for Georgia because Georgia holds a tiebreaker over Ole Miss. A&M left on their schedule the Longhorns, South Carolina, Mizzou, and LSU. I could see potentially a loss in there somewhere. You might get an LSU who has a point to prove. And if nothing else, even though if you look at the schedule on paper, you say they should be able to run the table in the conference, they struggled with Arkansas yesterday, and Arkansas is not a good team. So they may have given these four teams the blueprint. I mean, of those four teams, the Longhorns, their season closer, where we, in-state rivalry week all the way across the board. And Texas could come in and play their worst football ever, which they did yesterday against, well, that wasn't their worst football. Their worst football was losing to Florida, but that game against Kentucky was just horrible. Horrible. Somebody please remind me why it is the AP thought that it was a good idea to rank them back at number 21 when they beat OU last week. Oh, yeah, don't worry. I'll wait. We know why. We're not going to rehash that. We've been over that ad nauseum. So, the one-loss teams are Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, Missouri, OU, and Vandy. Yes, I have been keeping track and keeping notes because the Car Chronicles, I don't have the computer to pull up all the stuff, and I say stuff off the dome and I get it wrong, and then I post the video and I go, crap. John Mateer is not the quarterback of the Vanderbilt Commodores. Yeah. And then I have to go and put in the comments somewhere or in the description of the video a correction. But you folks don't do that. They just jump in the comments and go, you got that wrong. Yeah, so, Tennessee and Alabama, we know how that went. Tennessee did not look like the dominant Tennessee that we have seen so far this season. LSU and Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia is the truth. For any of you that thought that he was a one-trick pony, oh, no, 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 no. Why am I looking up there? I have no idea why I'm looking out the window. Diego Pavia is not a one-trick pony. He even struck the Heisman pose during looking very dominant as a player yesterday against LSU. Brian Kelly, job in trouble? Quite possibly. You consider the fact that their previous three head coaches all have national titles in Ed Orgeron, Nick Saban, and Les Miles. So, he's got some pretty big footsteps to follow. I don't know how much rope they're going to give him. They are going to probably finish with a winning record this season, but there's only so much that those big money donors can take if you're not winning national championships. That is just the nature of the beast that has become college football, especially in the NIL and revenue share era, where you can essentially pick those little things that pop up on social media that go, you have $5 and pick your players, and you have to pick out your team, wide receiver, quarterback, and running back, or whatever. We live in that era now, ladies and gentlemen, and for the fans and the boosters, if you can't win a championship, forget about it. James Franklin, perfect case in point. Most winning coach in the history of Penn State since Joe Paterno. Has played in bowl games. Has gotten to the college football playoff. That was last year's accomplishment, getting to the college football playoffs. And still, see you later, bye-bye. So, Brian Kelly, I definitely would have a big talk with my family and see what your, come up with a backup plan, because you probably got maybe one more season of this. And you see, after the firing of James Franklin, that the big buyouts that we thought were going to be a hindrance to coaches getting fired, that's no longer a security blanket or a safety. That's no longer a safety blanket. OU versus South Carolina. John Mateer not looking like the John Mateer pre-hand injury, but it was enough for a win. They did win by 3 scores. South Carolina's season definitely looking like it's over. I did say last week that the Beamer Ball era is over, at least for this season. Missouri and Auburn. Auburn, I got nothing for you. I got nothing. Like I said, Hugh Freeze, after they lost that call last week, no fumble call, Hugh Freeze just pretty much looked like he had just punted the entire season, and it showed both in their gameplay in the second half of last week's game versus Georgia and yesterday. And Mizzou is one of those one-loss teams that could be the fly in the ointment going into the end of the season. Texas, Kentucky, snooze fest. We already talked about that. Mississippi State, the Gators win. This is the time of year for the second year in a row where a few meaningless wins for the Gators could potentially save Billy Napier's season. I think not, but that remains to be seen. Mississippi State, yet again, finding out that they are just not ready they're not up to the challenge when it comes to SEC play. For their first 4 games, they went into conference play with 4 wins, undefeated. And then you look at the games and who they played. I believe NIU was one of those teams. Sorry, Nick and Tina, I know you guys are, you follow NIU. Nick and Tina, my co-hosts on both the Roundtable and the Roundtable Movie Podcast. Check it out sometime right here on this channel. Teams like NIU, and then they get into conference play and immediately go 0-3. They are 3 weeks into conference play, eliminated from any shot at going to the conference championship, and subsequently with 3 losses will probably not even make the college football playoff. That's all I got right now. Again, didn't address this at all this weekend. Colin and I did not do a show this week. Colin was not feeling well, very under the weather. We just said, hey, look, man, we'll hit it again when you're feeling better. We'll see. I'll check and see where we are. I'm pretty sure we should be good to go this week. So you will see us at some point this week. I'm not going to say Monday, because due to every week we've had to listen. This is how this thing works. We try to maintain some continuity and go on every Monday, but sometimes life gets in the way. For us, this is not. We don't unfortunately make enough money for this, not yet. but we don't make enough money for this to be a full-time job. So we have to work around job schedules and conflict with other shows and family things, or I gotta work late and I didn't get home till 6:30 and I don't have enough time to get all my stuff together. And same thing with him, he's still working. So anyway, all of that notwithstanding, Colin, brother, get better. I'll check in with you a little bit later. We'll see where we are, and you guys just stay tuned. Well, all you gotta do is just keep watching the channel. If you watch faithfully enough, you'll see us when we pop up. We'll be discussing all of this. We'll touch on last week just a little bit, because just like you know how college football is, we are week to week. We're going to just touch on last week a little bit, and then we'll get into the game yesterday with Ole Miss and all of the rest of this. So stay tuned. We'll catch you later. Y'all know what it is. It's Gym Sunday. If you're sitting somewhere and you're not doing anything, go for a walk, go for a swim, do a few push-ups, do a few pull-ups. Trust me, you'll feel a little better. I have reached a certain age in life, if you cannot tell, with the gray hairs, and I have a few aches and pains, and some of them are crazy. And the one thing that is keeping me going is by consistently exercising. So if you got the chance, get out there and go for a walk, do a few jumping jacks, do a few push-ups, swim a few laps in the pool. I know public pools are closed right now, but if you got access to an indoor, go do it. You'll feel a lot better. Thus ends sermon number 378,248, available on LP, cassette tape, 8-track, DVD, VHS, Betamax, Blu-ray, and all your streaming platforms. Just being silly. You guys have a great rest of your day. We'll catch up with you soon. Go Dogs.